Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a video on how I do my face routine. I've had so many people ask me to do this video and I've kind of tried to like push it back because I am bad at explaining things, and I was like, well, if I make a video, no one's going to understand what I'm talking about. So hopefully y'all will understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, just leave me a comment and I will definitely answer you, promise. But yeah, I'm not going to keep y'all waiting, so let's get into the video. Just forewarning everybody, I've got a cold, so if my nose looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or if I sneeze 20 billion times, that's exactly why. So starting out, I never go in with a primer or anything because my face is super dry. And even those like moisturizing primers, they never seem to work with me. So I always go in with a moisturizer and then I go in with my foundation. And I've already moisturized, so I'm going to start with my foundation. So starting out, I'm going to be taking my Huda Beauty foundation, and this is my favorite foundation of all time. A blessing sent from Jesus. And I recently, for about 6 months ago, I just discovered this. Or I mean, I knew it existed, but I had never used it until then. And let me tell you, it's the best stuff ever. So I do 2 pumps on the back of my hand. And then taking my finger, I just do little dots everywhere. You don't have to use this much foundation. I just use this much because I like a lot of makeup. So that is why. So taking my Real Technique sponge, I'm going to go ham. I'm just going to blend all of that in. And a lot of people I've noticed when they're doing their makeup, they drag the sponge like that. You don't ever want to drag because the product won't be distributed. You don't ever want to do that because the product won't be distributed evenly, and that's never a good thing. This foundation does dry very quickly. It sets almost immediately whenever you put it on your face, so you have to blend it kind of fast. So now I'm going in with my favorite concealer, and it's the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Light Sand. This is my favorite concealer. I used to use MAC Pro Longwear, and that's a really good one too, but this one just kind of mattifies more, and so that's why I like this one better. So I do small little lines like that right under my eyes. After I put my concealer under my eyes, I always drag it along my T-zone just a little bit to kind of even out the brightness on my face. I'm taking that same sponge on the foundation side and blending that in. And then with the other side, I'm going in and blending out my under eyes. Again, you always want to pat and not rub because rubbing will just smear, and smearing is not cute. Before I go and blend out my other eye, I always go in with a translucent powder and set my under eye immediately. Setting your under eye immediately will ensure that you have no creases. So what I do is I look up with the translucent powder on my brush, and I just dab that on there. So after I'm done setting my under eyes, I always go in with a tad bit of translucent powder, and I drag that right here where my smile lines are going to be. What I've learned doing my makeup is that you never want to set your entire face with a translucent powder because that can feel kind of cakey and almost unnatural. Unnatural, I'm over here like putting like 10 pounds of makeup on, and I'm talking about unnatural. Well, so after I set my smile lines and my under eyes, I go in with a powder, a foundation powder, that's about 2 shades darker than my skin tone. Wherever I contour at, which is usually my forehead and my cheekbones and the sides of my nose, I take this foundation powder and I set those areas with a flat brush kind of like this. It's kind of hard to tell in the video that I just did this step, but the reason for doing it is because when I go in with my contour powder, I don't like it to be so harsh or like there's a brown line on my face. I like there to be some smokiness to it. So going in with the dark powder creates kind of a base for my contour so that I don't look so sculpted, if that makes sense. I mean, if you want to look sculpted, you shouldn't do this step, but I don't like to look so harsh and to the point, so that's why I do this. After I do that step, I go in my translucent powder again and I set all of that underneath the powder that I just put on. Now taking my Huda Benefit bronzer, I'm going to be contouring, my favorite part. I have 2 steps to contouring. First, I go in with a fluffy brush and I bronze up my cheeks and my forehead. And then I go in with the little brush that the product comes with and I make more of a defined line. Whenever I contour my nose, I don't do anything fancy. I just take the brush that the product comes with and I drag that along the sides of my nose. For highlighter, I've recently been using this Hyper Real Glow by MAC, and it's super creamy whenever you put it on, even though it is a powder. I love it. I typically go in and I mix these 2 right here, and then I spray them. Instead of going in too harsh with my highlighter, I go in kind of soft, because if you have too much highlighter in one area, it creates a lot of texture that you don't really want on your face. I always drag a little bit of highlighter on my Cupid's bow, and then I drag the highlighter down my nose just a tad. I don't like a lot of highlighter on my nose because I feel greasy whenever I do. I feel like a lot of people don't like to do this step because they don't like a lot of color on their face, but I love blush. I'm taking this Baked Blush by Laura Geller and just putting a little bit on my cheekbones. So that is actually all that I do with my face. I know it seems either a lot to some people or not a lot to some people, but basically I can do that in probably 10 minutes, which is kind of quick for me. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup and I will be back in a second. Alright, I'm back with my makeup finished, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video and hopefully I helped y'all out a little bit. This is just my way of doing things. Don't think you need to change anything to do it how I do it, but these are just some tips and tricks that I've learned throughout the years doing my makeup, and I hope it helped y'all out. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment. I will definitely get back with you. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!